Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Welcome.
Do you know who I am?
Who the hell are you?
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
Just what is it that you want to do?
We want to get loaded, and we want to have a good time.
Okay, let's party.
Let me talk to you.
I'm building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Now here's the other Alliance guys, Tim, Jeremy, and Dave.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. We are 2/3. We are what's left of the other Alliance guys. A presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information of the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is, today I'm Timmy Thunder 2.0, because that's what Deals called me the other day on my birthday. Appreciate it. Oh, there goes Dave. Dave's gone. Oh, he's back. And this is the fantasy booker extraordinaire, Dave Scooby. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. We got hit with the East Coast snow blizzard and had maybe 4 to 5 inches and dealing with that. And people are still driving like idiots, but what do you expect?
Yeah, same thing here, obviously up in Canada, but I figured it out in Fahrenheit because we use Celsius. It's -9 up here right now in the day. In Amera speak, but -23 for us. So it's been bad. It's going to be bad. Will remain bad. Jeremy, our brother in pod, is stuck at work today. Don't know if he's going to make it onto the show. I hope he does, Jeremy. But enjoy your lunch or dinner that I know that they're paying for out there. So I'm sure it'll be delicious. We do miss you, my friend. We miss you greatly. And Devin Dowling's here. Good to see you, my friend, as well as Noob and Co TV. Hello to you, Noob. Thanks for being here. Media Mike is here, and I hope I didn't blast you out of your boots today, Mikey. Appreciate you being here, buddy. Steve G's here. It's so funny. I was about to say, Dave, we got a lot to talk about today. Honestly, we do have some stuff to talk about, but let's be real, right?
A lot to talk about, a little.
Yeah. The NWA is on hiatus right now until February. I want to say the 6th. Mm-hmm. Well, not really on hiatus. That's not entirely fair. They are on putting out a best of the vault right now, which this past week or yesterday, actually today came out this morning. Yeah, it came out late. Scoob and I were talking beforehand because we imagine kind of what our friend of the Alliance and NWA employee Paul Pratt had said on J. Cal's show yesterday. You know, everyone's pretty tired after working 20 hours straight for a few days. And I imagine that's why it probably came out today instead of yesterday. But if you were putting together a best of show, Scoob, you couldn't do any better than Choosing a Champion as your promo.
Yeah.
Your World Tag Team title match with La Rebellion against the Briscoes. And Trevor Murdoch defending the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship against Matt Cardona. What else are you looking for, right?
I mean, it was a hell of a show for what it was. And I mean, it brought back good memories seeing those matches and the places that those matches took place.
Yeah. Yeah. We were also commiserating, Dave and I, before the show that, schedules and labor being what they are, maybe it was a limited opportunity, but could there not have been more material already ready in the chamber for this period, which you had to know about, which is basically a month long, right? What did you think on that, Dave?
I mean, it's just one of those things of always be prepared, have something available, even if it's I don't know, if you decide to do best of season 1 of the NWA, the origin, and you do Tim Storm, you do Nick Aldis, you do whoever your big names were that first season.
Yeah.
That you don't even have to show full matches. Just show some of the highlights of, okay, here was Tim Storm, and this is when he had the belt, and then this is when he lost the belt. So it's one of these things of just give us something, whether it be the best of season 1, or if I mean, LA Knight, Eli Drake is hot now. Show a couple matches of his. Just figure things out. Do a best of, I don't know, Trevor.
Yeah,
He's been more than a champion, a double champion.
Yeah.
So I mean, just highlight your strengths and just have something available just to fill in the blanks whenever needed.
You could almost see it like the production too, like the best of the first, how many seasons would it have been? I don't know, it's like 19 or something, but the like the way that they do tapings. But
yeah,
you could have gone like the best of season 1. It had Aldis and Storm punching the hell out of each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from season 2, here's Thunder Rosa, taking on, like, exactly that. You could have really highlighted a whole bunch of stuff. But if you were only doing, this past year or so, hey, I mean, this would have been it. No way I would show the Tarnished Treasure. Listen, I would. He's a big deal in the E. I mean, even on the show today, and I mean, what do I know? I only hear and what gets told by other people and speculated. But Dave Marquez was on that broadcast with Eli Drake, L.A. Knight, Mr. Sean Ricker. So, and there's allegedly problems there. So why wouldn't you show all this? If you own the footage, put them out there. Here's the I don't know if he's Raw or SmackDown. I think he's SmackDown. Here's your SmackDown GM, right?
Yep.
For that matter, they don't know anything with Pierce, but anyway, that would have been good too. Mike said, honestly, I didn't care for it. I watched adult stuff with my girlfriend, whom likes NWA above all. I got her into wrestling. Mike has a girlfriend, Dave. She lives in Canada. This was lackluster. Drake promo was okay. Shoes of a Champion was okay. Shoes of a Champion, Dave, is the promo where everyone goes, it's this promo.
Yeah. And I mean, there were people like, oh, there's no way he's drinking. Oh, hell yes, there was way he was drinking. I mean, Sandoval even got involved with doing tipping of the bubbly, and I'm like, was it real? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm glad I had a driver.
Yeah. Sandoval, seeing him on a screen after all this time in the NWA, it's like, whoa.
Put a smile on my face. Yep.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Mike says, regardless of the E, he was a pivotal part of the NWA switching over after Storm. Absolutely was. Well, we'll talk about what we can talk about, and mostly we need you guys in the chat to lead this one. Be the vanguard of the other Alliance guys today and help bring us along. But we will talk about, NWA Paranoia went off this past weekend. Obviously, we don't know any results, and if we did, we wouldn't be talking about that. But we know what we know, and that was the 13th. We know that it was headlined by EC3 versus Matt Cardona in the Ultimate Match of Death. Lots of other matches, of course. Not the least talked about was the unification of the NWA World Television title. So, I mean, those are a couple of interesting matches on that card. Again, we're not going to talk about the card itself, but just to recap, that's what went down. Mm-hmm. We also had Revolution taped the same day, and then the TV tapings for Tampa for Power, for the CW the following day, which is just a few days ago. All positive stuff. Obviously, I throw this up until it's done. The 26 Crossfire Wrestling, the Page Sisters promotion with Off the Hook coming up.
Yep.
But some of the stuff we did know about was who showed up there for some of the tapings, and I almost feel like we manifested this one into the world, maybe for Willie Bowen if he's out there tonight. Reka Tahaka.
Yep.
She appeared on at the taping. She posted a photo of herself in an NWA hoodie saying, guess who made their NWA debut?
Yeah.
She's on board, Dave. I don't know. I mean, obviously we didn't make it happen. It was only a week ago, but I was like, oh, look at that. Not coincidences.
I mean, it's always good bringing in new faces. And I mean, you have Tiffany Nieves there as well. Missa Kate's always there. But you have to rotate some of these people, either going after the TV title or going after the Burke, or possibly teaming up to go after the tag belts. That the women's roster, while it is a very good roster, you can run through people fairly quick. So it's one of these things of use people while you can, highlight them, give them a break for maybe one set of tapings. And then if there's a demand and people want to see them again, they can always come back.
Right.
So it's one of these things of, okay, let's do a little rotation, mix things up, see what happens, and go from there. That with all these different events that they're having, territories and wrestling events at these territories, while Crossfire Wrestling isn't quote unquote an official territory, your title holders, that's their territory. Right. That is their wrestling organization. So if you have any of Pretty Empowered and any other NWA current talents there, we don't need to see the whole match, but give us highlights of those matches.
Yep.
That
absolutely.
See the NWA do almost a control center type thing where they highlight any and all champions and either do it on Power while it is now being moved to CW. That's something that can be highlighted, or put it on the YouTube channel. That here's your weekly highlight of champions in action. And it's maybe a 10-minute show altogether that highlights all your champions and who the contenders are for those belts.
That makes sense to me. Mims, right? Make it make sense?
Yep, make it make sense.
Mike, this is why we call you Demonetized Mike. I don't want to get Jamie demonetized. That's pretty fucking funny, I tell you. Noob says, do you see Brian Idol as the guy to take the 10 pounds of gold from EC3? If I may, Dave. Okay, you already answered from me, but I went upstairs and I said to my wife, it's freezing downstairs. Do you think I should wear an NWA toque? And she said, no, you have to wear your podcasting toque or your podcasting cap. I said, okay. Noob, if that ever happens, I will eat this hat live on the air. It's never going to happen. He might take it to EC3's car for him, but he's never going to be the NWA World Champion. It's just not meant to be. Our friend Dodie is here. Is anyone ready for Tyrus's culinary awesomeness? That's a new show, I imagine. I got to read this stuff first, Mike, before I put it on the air. I know about you, my friend. I guess that's okay. I'll leave that one up. Also on the show, I saw posted that he was at the tapings, Dave. Don't know what that means, or maybe at Paranoia. I forget which. Was Nick Dinsmore.
Eugene.
Known to many as Eugene, a once very popular WWE talent. Uncle Eric Bischoff. He actually just appeared in Memphis wrestling at the Grind City Rumble. I think it was a Grind City Rumble. So Eugene was there. I don't know if he was on TV. Do you know, Dave?
I don't believe so, but while I always didn't like his character, I liked what he could do as that character.
Yeah.
But the guy is a wrestling machine. If you've ever watched any of his old OVW when he was Nick Dinsmore, the guy can wrestle. And I believe he also has a wrestling promotion. I'm not sure where, but I believe he does run a promotion. And it's one of these things that if he's still wrestling or he has talent that he can send somewhere, it's always helpful. And you never know the diamond in the rough that you're getting. That 9 out of 10 times they may crap the bed.
Yeah.
But every once in a while you get somebody and it's just like, oh, wow. Just like, I mean, unless you knew about Thunder Rosa from Lucha Underground back when she was with the Reptile Clan, there's not a lot of people that knew about Thunder Rosa except those on the West Coast.
Right.
So it's one of these things that you never know where your next big talent or your next big surprise may come from. So
it's true.
The more people that can become involved, even with a handshake, they don't have to be the best of the best. I mean, I loved seeing, what was it, the Headbangers when they were at Saw Win, and they were majorly over with the crowd. I'd love to see more of them, and if they choose to do a Crockett Cup live this year, I'd love to see them come back for the Crockett Cup.
And nostalgia pieces are always good, and
oh yeah,
I never remember who's Mosh and who's Thrasher, but one of them looked great. Like, it's tremendous shape, right?
Yep.
Mike says, but in my view, Rosa being an NWA did more for her, even got her on and into AEW. It did. I'd never heard of her before NWA, and that's just when I started watching again. But I think like she carried the NWA for a season or two. She was the Camille, MVP of the whole league before Camille was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought she did a tremendous job for the NWA. I still remember that, she couldn't get beat and then just lying on the mat in that last match against Camille and flipping her the bird. It was a great way for her to go out. Anyway, I meant to mention, Crockett Cup signature live event, says James H. Jackson. All right, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't think I ever mentioned what we're going to do this show. We do want to spend, we don't know how long we're going to be here, but we do want to spend a little bit of time talking about Major League Wrestling to try to get more of you guys on board with MLW, because you're not going to believe some of the matches in this card that's coming up, like who's in them. And we'll talk, like briefly, we'll talk about Power. We're kind of doing that now, but Jeremy's not going to be here for UWN, but we've heard about the rundown of that card already. And then Dave's going to wrap it up with how are title changes going to work in a signature live event world, a post pay-per-view world. Do you mean Memphis? I mean, it was a Grind City Rumble. They screwed it up, but I mean, it doesn't matter. So I think that's probably part and parcel of Triple J about how all of this stuff is going. Like Hard Times is already set for March 2nd or something in Alabama. So that's good. But I mean, at these particular tapings, Nick Dinsmore, Rekka Tahaka, and we know the King Bees were there, who put on a brief showing in On Power before, being promoted. Well, actually, they got a women's tag team title shot, didn't they?
Yep.
Paranoia. So we'll see how that goes. Like J. Cal pointed out yesterday, the internet has been remarkably quiet, and it's good. It's an okay thing about the pay-per-view, the signature live event outcome of Paranoia. I haven't heard, but we've only heard of some of the people who are going to be there, and those are just a few of them. What is Mike? Sorry, what is Mike saying? Memphis and Derby are Car Shield. They're not Car Shield anymore. There was a replay. That was a replay, Mike. From they've been coming out of the vault for a long time. They had their taping for their return card just a few days ago as well. Someone spoiled a few matches for James H. Jackson. Yeah, let's keep him unspoiled for the rest of us. I mean, I've never been that kind of guy who gets a book and then goes to the end to see how it finishes up. I want to read it out.
The end.
Yeah, the end usually. New Bass, what's next for Markova and the NWA now that it's on the CW? I know I'm a huge fan of hers, but she already had her chances to go after the Burke. Probably get more. I think she's going to, like we say, we've said before, I think she's going to hold the Burke. How about you, Dave?
I believe sometime within the next, I'd say in the next year and a half, I'd build her up either through tag teaming, have her and Taylor go after the tag belts again. And that gives her an in to either go after that maybe Kenzie interferes in a match and they run it back, or depending on what happens with the TV title, we'll find out in the next couple weeks what happened with Max and Mims at Paranoia. Who knows? Yep. There may not be a way to get 7 wins to go after the Burke anymore. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm okay with that, to be honest. I kind of feel like that gimmick is one that ran its course pretty early for me.
Mm-hmm.
The Lucky 7 was fine, but everybody did it. And I'd like to see someone maybe lose that title from time to time, week to week. But hey, guess what? I know we're not going to get much into the UWN, but guess who spent 400 days as champion, Dave, over in the United Wrestling Network? Say again. Go ahead. Yeah, I think Dave said Danny Limelight, but I cut him off. I think I talked over you, Dave. Yeah. Sorry about that. This guy, yeah.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight.
400 days as champ. I know they shut down for some of those days. It's kind of like an Aldous claim on being, I don't know, 5th in the NWA all time or something. But Danny Limelight's had a ton of defenses. He's gone through some of the UWN's best in his reign as champ.
And I mean, as good of a wrestler as he is, if he was maybe 2-3 inches taller and maybe had another 20 pounds on him, he's a total all-around wrestler. I mean, he can do the high moves and he's very good at what he does, but by any means necessary will he defend that belt.
James H. Jackson says he's defended outside the UWN too. It's also weird because I think it was MLW that he was in as well as like Danny Rivera, right?
Yep.
And he's a different cat there.
Yep.
But Mike says Limelight versus Slice Boogie in a week or two.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully I'm not spoiling anything, but they are still leading to this, is what I hear. You know, the bodega's about to fall into itself. And as much as I want to see Slice versus Danny, kind of want to see where Papa Esco is going to land on this whole thing.
Yeah.
That should be interesting. Should the bodega be giving members of the bodega shots, or should they just be protecting their own?
Oh, I mean, everybody in that group is good at what they do, but I mean, in the end, it's every man for himself, I believe.
Right. Do you remember a time back in JCP for the Horsemen when they were basically on top of the world, and Arn Anderson said, "How about a shot for the Enforcer to Rick?"
Yep.
And they were like, "You don't really want that," and he's like, "No, I think I kind of really do." And they went head to head.
Yep.
That was fun for a very short period of time, and then it was, shake hands and it was all over. But so, I don't know if Mike knows something or not, but he says, let's just say the bodega may not last long. I love the bodega. I hope it remains. I'm sure I'm a bit all over the place when we're doing some of this, but, we got it. We talked about the NWA that there weren't any really chances for lowlights when we were talking about highlights and lowlights, but and I know we kind of talked about it, but great promo, great tag match. Murdoch versus Cardona. What do you expect to see in the days ahead?
I'm not really sure. I'm assuming, but when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. But I'm looking at where they had been and where they're going, that they in the next couple weeks they have to either highlight Camille and the transition from Camille to Kenzie before they head to the CW, and also I mean, highlight your champions. Yep. Over the couple weeks, any and all champions, without pay-per-views or live events, that they're putting up the belts. These belts are going to have to be defended on the CW, but everything's pre-recorded. So unless you find out that there's a title change, we got to be prepared for what's going to happen. I'm not sure if they're going to have, I mean, I'll talk about it on the fantasy booking, but if there's no pay-per-views or events of that type where a live title change can happen, what happens?
Yeah, I look forward to your thoughts on this. And we'll get to that. I mean, in Jeremy's absence, maybe we just, we'll continue to follow the chat. You want to talk about NWA? We'll talk about NWA and keep it loose. But let's talk, because we're halfway through our format already. It's like 30 minutes in, and we're like, hey, good night, everybody. that return card from UWN, Dave, and then we'll get into briefly into MLW, and then we'll come back as the whole thing. Like James H. Jackson is coming up with some stuff about Paul Pratt was on last night.
Mm-hmm.
But that UWN, I always want to give love to Mr. Marquez and United Wrestling Network. Danny Limelight did defend against Pretty Peter Avalon on the taping on the 14th. We didn't see, we will see Willie Mack versus Will Allday, which I'm maybe even more excited for.
Two great wrestlers.
Yeah, absolutely. And a whole bunch of talent I love to see. Zicky Dice, Levi Shapiro, I'm a big fan. Jack Banning was at that show defending, his title. So, I mean, there's just, it's going to be a great comeback show for the UWN. Memphis had that Grind City Rumble this past week, which saw previously mentioned Nick Dinsmore appear. It also saw eventual winner Cruel. And Big Ben Bishop came in, and I went, oh my God, Big Trouble Ben Bishop is back. If there's a saving grace to Memphis right now, it's the return after, I think they said 8 or 9 months of Big Trouble Ben Bishop. Did not last long in the Rumble. What a waste. And they gave it to Cruel. Cruel eliminated Big Swole.
Yeah.
Willie's one of Willie's favorites, Big Swole. So I don't know. Things are maybe on the uptick in Memphis, but we'll see. Well, let's instead talk about, because Jeremy's not here and this feels like his thing. I feel like I'm peeing on his lawn right now. MLW though. Oh yeah, look at this. In Jeremy's absence, I will say, if you're not watching all of the UWN, may you all have the biggest toothache. To fill that one in for Jeremy. Yeah, MLW has a card coming up, which they're filling out right now. We won't spend a ton of time on that either. They actually have two, because Dave filled me in on one that is coming up free on YouTube on this coming Saturday.
Saturday night. Yep.
Reload, right? Yeah.
Reload, yep.
And if I can get that to come up, who is on that show? Satoshi Kojima faces off against Sami Callihan.
Yep.
That's a solid fight. The one that kills me, and I mean that in the best of ways, I'll just pull up the overlay here, is coming up is in Super Fight in early February. I know you're going, Dave. Yuji Nagata versus the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu, live in Philadelphia. What do you think about that one?
That's just, it's going to be insane. And what they've done with bringing in the New Japan talents and also the CMLL talents, they've been working very well with MLW in doing these tapings and doing these matches. It's to the point where I'm not going to say that Fatu is bulletproof, but he doesn't lose much in losing.
Right.
That he's just a total wrecking machine. And I mean, if they do the bloodline storyline, and if they're able to bring in some outsiders, I'd like to see him be one of them that was brought in. But it's one of these things of wherever he goes, you're going to get a good match out of him. It's amazing what he can do for a guy his size, even though he has slimmed down some. He flies all around that ring and does things that a man his size should be able to do.
Yeah, he's crazy that way. Sean saying MLW Fusion is gone. I don't believe so.
No,
this is just a free event like they did in at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm excited for these MLW shows. Another sleeper company. Fatu Sean says was just on ROW TV.
Yep.
And they also have for that event. I can't find it here. Alex Kane is defending the MLW World Title. Where is it, Dave? Against Kojima, right?
Yes.
Here it is. Yeah, it's just I can't get it to come over to the screen. But anyway, yeah, Kojima is facing Kane for the MLW World Title. Another great clash of styles, which is what MLW is all about, as you guys have taught me this past year.
Excuse me.
I mean, that is just super exciting.
And it's one of these things that while Alex Kane has only been wrestling for, I believe, 6 or 7 years, I mean, Kojima's been around forever. And he brings with him the history and tradition of MLW, being a former champion. But it's one of these things that by using the different groups, CMLL and also New Japan, they're able to have the current champions of MLW. Their stock is rising because they're beating international stars and former champions to basically up the ante in the working that Court does with MLW and these other talents. It's amazing. It's one of these things that if you're not really into all these different styles, this is MLW. Their shows give you a little sample of each and you pick and choose what you like.
Yeah.
But these shows go so quickly that a pay-per-view for them is 2.5 hours and it just seems to fly. But you may be seeing some lucha libre. You'll see a taped fist match with glass shards. They do hardcore stuff. They do it's in the old ECW arena, so they live and die by the hardcore style. But it's not just, oh, it's all vanilla or it's all chocolate. This is literally a Baskin Robbins. They give you a wide variety of styles, wrestlers, and just a different way of viewing what wrestling is.
Yeah, like they've got, to your point, they've got sort of this Selena De La Renta led Lucha Libre faction.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got Mystico is taking on Averno, who I think is of the latter is which is part of her faction. And she's got Rocky Romero.
Rocky Romero. Oh man.
Yeah, what a talent. So I mean, like even if you're not a Lucha Libre guy, you know, there's something there for everyone to see. But on the same card that night, like that's coming up for Super Fight. They also have, we'll get the right graphics up and everything last week. I'm also a bit behind my time today, but Davey Boy Smith returns. And who's he taking on? Jeremy's number one MLW guy, the one called Manders. Like, Hoss fight.
That's going to be a Hoss fight.
So you got the aerial, you got the power, you got the technical. What else do you want?
And you also have your quote unquote sports entertainers, the World Titan Federation with St. Laurent.
Yeah.
And have a variety of wrestlers. And it's I mean, Cardona's there, Josh Bishop. He's basically a baby version of Sid Justice in my eyes.
Davey Boy Smith is World Titan. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just it's one of these things that if you don't have a specific style of wrestling that you like, watch it. If you like what you see, cool. If not, move on. But I mean, for me, there's so much different styles, and that's what MLW basically says, that styles make fights. That you may see the high flying lucha libre. You may see ground and pound. I mean, you have, I mean, Tony Deppin's there, Thatcher's there.
Ooh.
You got ground and pound guys. You got, it's just, it's anything and everything about wrestling. Throw it all at the wall, and whatever sticks, whatever you may like, cool. Whatever you don't like, give it 10 minutes. There'll be something else for you.
Yeah, Thatcher's there. Is Filthy Tom there, or is he kind of a mercenary in and out?
He's in and out here and there, but I mean, it's one of these things that they have just a wide variety of wrestlers and styles. I mean, the bro is there, the king of all bros, Matt Riddle. You may like him, you may not like him, but I mean, it was a hell of a match this last go around. And I mean, I'm excited to see where these storylines go.
Good place for him to rehab his career.
Oh yeah.
Currently, and it may change very soon with the CW. We don't know. Things change positions, but I think it's elevated just a little bit above where the NWA is currently at. So that's a good place for him. Mike says, love MLW. Since it started as is supposed ECW successor. However, more talent now before than there. Great mix. Just wish they would lay up on the 60-60. Yeah, Davey Boy Jr. is there in the mix. Yeah, he is. As we say, he's returning to action. He was injured recently. Coming back to face one called Manders. So that's great. Let's go back to the NWAs. That's kind of our bread and butter. And, you know, James H. Jackson put this in earlier. Paul Pratt talked for 2 hours yesterday on the J-Cal's, the pre-party. The pre-party to Power that came out today. And they explained a lot about stuff like that. And it, honestly, I'll tell you guys that, 50-50. I knew what you meant, Mike. I've been a little disgruntled privately with the NWA recently because I don't live in the United States, and the CW as an app is only available in the United States. And I've been asking questions online to anyone who will listen about, and I wasn't getting any answers. And I'm aware that a VPN is open to me as an option, but I thought this was something that should have been worked out previous. And, for people like me and Dodie and Fiona and, all over the world, Lamb and, well, Lamb's not watching, but but yeah, he might.
I have an idea, Tim.
Yeah.
I'll sit in front of my TV with my phone, turn it in landscape mode. I will record the show, and then I will email it to you, and you can watch on your phone.
Wow. Well, that isn't a generous offer. I hope that you at least would have a tripod if you were doing this.
Yeah.
You don't stand there all the time. I'll probably I would never get a VPN and illegally tell my television I was in the United States. But anyway, the point to this story was that, I've been a little bit disgruntled. Like, I want the company to take care of me, especially when, the quality of it aside, I am one of the people providing content.
Yeah.
And so I've been a little put out. And then Paul came on, who I had the pleasure of meeting at NWA 75 very, very briefly. He came on the pre-party last night with some answers and some explanations. And, he started off, Dave, by saying, look, the NWA really appreciates everybody. And, as fans, and we do hear what you're saying. And, there are always options that are available that, I may have just mentioned them. But there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of steps that have to take place when you go into a new platform, when you're stepping up into and we lost Dave, into a new media. And these things take time, and there's going to be growing pains, and but as a company, the NWA is listening. And I'll put Dave back on. Here we go. We are listening, and we're going to figure some of this stuff out. And there's, without giving anything away, because he's a total pro, it was great things ahead, great productions, great matches, a new vibe, looking to attract look at that finger. To attract a new audience on the CW. And I was put to, like, some of my disgruntled behavior was put to bed. I felt better. And sometimes, Dave, I kind of wish that there was a Paul Pratt on a more regular basis, and I don't mean Paul himself, but like whoever from the NWA in some kind of media outlet that would say, listen, we hear you, Tim, about the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we're doing about it or not going to do about it. We hear you guys about, those who don't live in the United States and your availability to watch. We hear you about, maybe you had negative opinions about Sawin. We hear you, and I know that as a leader, that we've often heard from Mr. Corgan's, he's not going to cater to the wrestling community, but it would be nice to have someone saying, we're hearing you, and this is how we address it, or this is how we're not going to address it. And either way, I would at least respect that. What do you think?
I mean, it was good hearing that somebody is at least acknowledging what is happening. That I realize they're running on a shoestring budget, quote unquote. They have guys that are doing 2 and 3 people's jobs, but as they expand, they're going to have to either ante up and pay some more people to do these jobs rather than depending on 1 or 2 people. And I realize there's a lot on their plate right now, but it's one of these things that they knew what they were getting into. They may not have just asked the correct questions at the right time.
Yeah.
That it's, oh, hey, we're going on CBS. Okay, well that's cool. You're going to be on CBS, but CBS isn't everywhere. CBS may be available in Mexico, but just right over the border.
Yeah.
It may, I mean, I know in Canada, they have different rules for the broadcasting of both radio and TV. That on radio, you have to have a certain percentage of artists that are from actual Canada, that are based out of Canada or Canadian.
It's true.
And it's one of these things that you have to adjust to all these different markets. It's not just, oh, we're going to put our program on such and such app or such and such channel, and it's up to you to get them.
Yeah.
It's one of these things that, yes, it is up to me that if I want to watch NWA, I know I have to get the CW app either on my phone or on my TV. That it's something I have to download and I can watch it through this app. But being that this app isn't available everywhere, you have to have due diligence in making your show available to anybody and everybody by any means necessary.
I agree. I mean, the Canadian content rule applies sometimes, like on radio, where you have to have, I think it's around 20 or 30% Canadian artists. It doesn't apply to like TV shows where like, oh, 20 or 30% of your cast have to be born in Canada or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. But you do have to have Canadian content, like Canadian made programs on your network.
Mm-hmm.
I love Canada. I love it better than any country in the world. I love the US too. I mean, I'm from here. I dig it, but we're a stupid country sometimes. So like anywhere else, right? Like, but there's always deals that can be made, and I am learning to trust the process that the NWA goes through when they have people on their staff who I respect. We saw one of them last night, and you know, you and I have spoken with some people over there, many times, who are total pros and and know what they're doing, or if they don't, they will give you the impression that they're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so retros here, Sam. Sucks right now with this content stuff. Yeah, we're saying before you got here, they might have been able to do things differently. But if you were doing a best of power with 2 matches and a promo, it's pretty much it, right? James H. Jackson points out, by the way, James, I've had one of the busiest weeks and months of my life, and I have not answered your amazing messages on Twitter. And thank you so much. I'm an awful person to deal with on Twitter sometimes. YouTube can be region locked. You can upload the show and then region lock it, so the USA has to watch it on CW only. There could be rules from the CW saying that's not going to happen here. Exclusivity being what it is, and the rest could watch it on YouTube. It might not matter in the end. Like I said, you can watch the NWA on the CW website itself. I cannot. Not only is the app blocked, but the website's blocked.
I haven't checked. I mean, almost all the major networks have YouTube channels as well. I'm not sure if CW would be able to show highlights, that if it's a 45-minute show or an hour show, that they're able to maybe show 3 minutes of spots and show highlights of the matches where it may not be the whole match.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew kind of speaks to this. He missed this show yesterday. NWA can or won't do any contacts unless it's at the CWA. No USA, no Power Surge. I don't think we understand the complete exclusivity of the deal, but I think that they have a certain amount of content that's promised to the CW, and we have heard that there will be extra stuff on, YouTube or other outlets. So I'm not sure that's the case. I do want to talk, because Dodie, I didn't forget you. I'm just saving this one up here. So the NWA doesn't have much money and they can't sign everyone, but so Dodie has advice. How about stay with the current roster and spending money on a better writer or booker? I mean, we kind of know why that isn't going to happen, because the guy who writes the checks is the guy that's booking. It's sort of the same deal in AEW, for that matter. And I'm not trying to compare Tony and Billy Corgan, but I think that Dave and I wouldn't disagree that maybe you could, take a break and let someone else book for. Remember stories like Lawler used to hand the book over to Jarrett, right? And then Jarrett would do 6 months and he'd hand it back to Lawler. Maybe you could do that with Pat Kenny or someone else you could hire, Dave.
I mean, just some of the people that are there. I mean, you have Dr. Tom Pritchard and Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond right there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have the knowledge that, I mean, you could just, if you could get 4 or 5 people together, Billy's going to do what Billy wants to do. But the more voices that either say it's not wrong, but maybe we could do it this way, that you're basically, you're not saying go to hell with a smile, but you're basically, you're making things appear the same but different. That hey, Billy, that's a great storyline, but what happens if we did this? It's the same storyline, but it has just this little twist on it. And let's see what happens, how the response is. And if it's a good response, we go this way. If not, that storyline can finish right there.
Right. I think Sean Mega's comment on the screen right now is a good one. I have kind of said this to my wife and kids in different capacities before. I have kids ranging from 27 to 14, and sometimes it takes a younger mind to be able to, get a fresh eyes, fresh thoughts on these things. And I'm old enough to know that, sometimes I'm not always that, that guy. Billy Corgan's not that much older than me, just a few years. And, I sometimes go, well, I only think about things from a guy who was born in 1970. So I do think it would be a good idea to have a younger mind in there, Sean. But Tim is right. We don't know, James A. Jackson says, what was in the contract. This was signed. It's so tough to tell what they can and can't do outside the CW. Yeah, it's not a publicly traded company, which means Lightning One is solely owned. They don't have to show their books to anyone except, I would imagine, the IRS at some point.
Yep.
Noob didn't watch a retrospective episode today. If you've already seen it, I didn't watch it either. I just went, oh, yeah, actually, I watched the Shawn Rickers promo. I haven't seen it in a while. I think it's great. And then what are their matches? Oh, the Briscoes versus BFT. That was great. Fast forward. And Trevor Murdoch and Matt Cardona. The thing I remember most about that match when Cardona won the world title was when the ref handed him the title, Dave, and he looked at it and he went, holy shit.
Yep.
I won this thing? Anyway. Matthew Underwood says, it wouldn't shock me if CW hires a consultant like someone who worked with Lightning One before. I assume CW will hand them notes. They need Cyrus the Virus there. What's that guy's name? From I guess he's in AEW now.
Oh, Don Callis.
Don Callis, that's it, yeah. From the network.
Yep.
That'd be great. Anyway, I'm sure I would agree, Matt. That's probably what'll happen. It would be nice to know more details on the CW situation, an announcement or something. If there's one thing I'm learning about the NWA, Dave, is that they are notoriously tight-lipped.
Yep.
As a business guy, I kind of respect it. As a fan, it's just maddening, though. When everything was going down with Sawin and Cocaine Gate, not a peep. In fact, they leaned into it with that bit about, hey, Kyle, you want to see what's in my pocket? Anyway. Mike says it wasn't very much of a retrospective either. 3 matches and goodbye. Should have skimmed through several years. I bit my tongue today. I know watching wrestling, whether it's on Peacock or YouTube. Sorry, I know that I enjoy wrestling, whether it's on Peacock or YouTube. But I don't want to feel like watching NWA Power on the CW app. Even though I want to catch an Natalia Markova match. I mean, it's just the way of things now. That's the way it's going to be is how that's where it's going to be, man. I got to figure out a way. All you guys have to do down there is just download the app and watch it. Turn on the website and watch it. It was so weird to me. I am not a massive technology guy, but I live in an allegedly free country. And I went, no, it can't be right. I can watch the CW on the web, right? No. Wow. Incredible. Let's go ahead, head into blah, 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 blah. How about that? Let's take a look at some fantasy booking, Dave, and talk about how NWA title changes are maybe going to work in a post-pay-per-view world. In a segment I love to call, I Respect You, Booker Man. Feels so weird just doing it like we're having such a casual conversation with everybody. Here's the video.
Yep.
But Dave, your subject tonight, I always forget to use the banners until you come up, was kind of how do you think the NWA ought to handle title changes in a signature live event post pay-per-view era?
Well, I mean, now with the internet and everybody having spoilers, it's one of these things that the NWA seems to be very good at not spoiling matches and or results. They're there if you want to find them, but you have to do quite a bit of digging. I'm hoping that the NWA will still have Crockett Cup and the anniversary show. If they could do maybe 4 pay-per-views a year, every 3 months, that's basically about 120 days. That gives you a good length of a title run. If it's working, keep going. Just have some good matches. But depending on what they're wanting to do, if they're able to do a taping and then turn around and that title change is then shown on that Tuesday, you're talking 2 or 3 days. The people that want to know will find out, but it will almost be a surprise. It won't be an instantaneous surprise like on a pay-per-view. But unless news is broken, just stay clear of the websites.
That's it, and that's basically the main thing you got to do.
I mean, you can go on Twitter and you can log in and block anything having to do with NWA title changes, spoilers. You can go in and log in and be able to block any accounts that may give spoilers. But it's one of those things of if you're truly wanting to make sure it's not spoiled, just stay off of social media.
That's a tall order in today's world, right?
Very much. And I'm hoping that if they do the tapings, that the tapings will be done on a Sunday, and it's a 48-hour turnaround to when there's a quote unquote title change.
Yeah. Tall order.
While it won't be instantaneous and live in the moment, it will be as close to live as possible.
Yeah. Do you think this is like it's going to work, or do you think there's going to be growing pains?
I really don't know if if it will work. I myself haven't been watching like Women of Wrestling. They do tapings, and what they end up doing is what the NWA is planning on doing. They don't do any pay-per-views. All their title changes have taken place at their tapings and on their TV. So that's what we're looking ahead at. Unless they choose to do Crockett Cup in the anniversary show as a live pay-per-view and then show highlights on CW. That's all I could really see is if they do 3 or 4 pay-per-views a year that highlight possible title changes.
Right. Well, here's something from Matthew Underwood. How about a signature live event be freaking live and not attempt to stretch out every bit of content into 3 to 4 shows? It's a fair comment. I mean, if you can actually have something live. I mean, the reason they've abandoned the pay-per-view system has to be because they weren't selling pay-per-views, right?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I'll go back up through the comments here. Sorry, I am lost in the comments. Retro says the CW app does have some cool shows for free, but I did count on watching over-the-air TV for NWA. Yeah, that was talked about early on, wasn't it? You could watch that over the air if you were.
Nowadays, unless you're actually hooked up to cable, everything is streaming.
Yeah.
That everything has an app. That if you have Roku, you can log into Roku, type in CW, download that app, and then just highlight. And whenever your show comes up and it's available, they'll send you a notification, and you can watch it on your phone or watch it on your TV.
Right. Jody had said this earlier. Forget the cocaine gate from Sawin that they went up with. Current booking, no TV will have an eye on NWA. Hope CW gives him some advisor or someone to help keep Billy's booking at bay. Well, it's what it is.
Yeah.
I have that sign above my desk at work. Just point to it sometimes. It is what it is.
Well, back in the day, TBS had their standards and practices that I'm sure CW, it's not over-the-air TV. It's streaming, basically. But if they have standards and practices as to what can and can't happen, I don't think there'll be a cocaine gate or anything like that again.
Yeah. I'm sure Mike knows what we're talking about. Actually, let's go back. I'm sure this is a joke. Dave Lagana, hire him under a pseudonym. Is Dave Lagana still in wrestling prison? like nothing was ever proven there, was it? Or charges were ever laid?
Post every once in a while. It's one of these things that if he was able to come back, that would be great for the NWA. But it could also be a black eye for the NWA bringing him back, being that it was never proven, but it's hearsay, and who knows what could happen. But if they are able to do the CW and it's successful on the app, it could move to actual television.
That would be good.
Right now, if you don't know, EC3 is a champion in OVW. He's a champion in the NWA, and he's also a Premier Wrestling Network champion.
He is.
And if you don't know who that is, Freddie Prinze, who used to work for WWE and is also a Hollywood star in his own right, he started the Premium Wrestling Network. So it's one of these things that things could work out for NWA being on a network on the CW app, but then any quote-unquote pay-per-view type events could possibly be on the Premier Wrestling Network.
Yeah.
It's another charge, but if it's a decent enough price, and let's say there's 4 events a year, every 3 months, there's a chance for titles to change on pay-per-view. But they're going to be on TV. If it's granted, it's not live TV, but like I said, if they can do a taping and then that first episode, which is 36 to 48 hours later after the taping, if they can keep things under wrap for that amount of time, it can be as surprising as a live title change.
Yeah. I also wondered if maybe like one option might be doing something like MLW does with, we got this supercard. It's free at Christmas time. You want to see, Fatu fight Davey Boy Smith Jr.? Yeah, I want to see Fatu fight Davey. Well, there's a chance for, the NWA to do a title change and something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like that's the current model. Apparently, Lagana's running a Texas card house in Austin, Texas. I think I actually have him on LinkedIn. Like, I think I'm actually connected. I have to check afterwards. I do check in on him every once. I've never spoken to him or contacted him. He's in Russo jail. I don't care. Russo and Cornette are on the same camp as far as I'm concerned. They do the same thing from opposite ends. CCW, according to Paul, does 4 to 6 shows a week. The NWA can't do bi-weekly tapings. Isn't that what a territory systems are for? Freddie Prinze Jr. is available to write. He's the guy from Scooby-Doo, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Just making sure I got it right. Great minds think alike, Dave. James H. Jackson got this today from Premier Streaming. I'm sure he'll post it up here. Probably has to post it in bits for the chat. We'll see if I can get them all up. But NWA Shawn Mega says it's basically Lucha Underground in regards to taping schedules. I guess not entirely unfair.
Yeah.
But there you go. Let's see what James H. Jackson has. Dear Premier Steven Network, in case you missed it, got some news. I'll let you post that, James. What else, guys? You guys want to talk? What else you guys want to talk about? What do you guys want to talk about? Yeah, the Discord is in the doobly-doo. The Discord, the link to the Discord is posted. All the links are down there on YouTube, on the YouTube page, including the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, why aren't you in the Discord? Everybody's in the Discord. All the cool kids are in the Discord. It's honestly hopping. It's where I see a lot of these guys who are in the chat right now. James is posting about the Premier Wrestling app in the first quarter of 2024. Free for all users. So that'll be interesting. I am actually seeing their champ on Saturday. Living in Canada, my opportunities to see the 10 pounds of gold and NWA talent as a whole are limited. And EC3 happens to be defending the Dome Globe 30 minutes from my house, which I wouldn't have known unless Jay Cal had told me. And against a guy who, at least on the poster, looks exactly like Kenny Omega, but who is not Kenny Omega. So I look forward to that. On the very, very slim to none chance that EC3 or someone who knows him is out there, please be nice to my daughter. She adores you. I'm sure you will be. I gotta we bought the meet and greet and the front row package. It's gonna be great. I look forward to meeting the champ. I think he's doing a great job. James is saying they're going free with their ad, more like the CW ad model. He posted the email from Matthew did in the Discord. That's exciting. I mean, it's a good time for wrestling at overall. I will randomly predict, however, I was just thinking about this today. I don't know why. That AEW will not survive in its current format, meaning with all the shows it has on TNT and TBS through the end of 2025. I don't think if you're a billionaire, you get that way by spending $100 million a year on a business that isn't going to fly. But I'm not an AEW guy. I've watched it once in my whole life. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, there's going to be adjustments made, but with talk of, I'm not sure whether it's, I guess SmackDown is going to Fox and Raw possibly to Amazon. Well, Amazon, hey, hint, hint, everybody, that's a streaming service. So it's one of these things of whether you like it or don't, streaming is the future. It's now, but it's also the future. So if it's good enough for WWE to be on, if they have NWA going on CW, which is in the next year or so modifying itself to be more sports orientated, that they'll have several wrestling shows on it. So who knows what, I mean, we're taking steps that WWE will be taking next year.
Right.
So we may not quite be there on that level, but embrace what's happening.
Right.
That streaming is the future. It's, I mean, you can listen to radio stations, they stream over their websites that I can listen to. I'm here in Baltimore. I can listen to my buddy who's on the radio in Kansas City. I just go online, hit a button, and I hear him in the mornings.
Right.
So it's one of those things. It's the future. Adjust or
die.
Bypassed. Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely agree. There are still good souls out there who, you know, back in the day didn't pay for music, and you know they ripped it. Remember LimeWire?
Yep.
We used to rip movies and music from LimeWire when we were younger. I always bought the album, almost always, if I loved it anyway, because I wanted it in a hard copy format. Now it's the same with programming of any media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a website that you can watch any movie that is pretty much out there right now. Maybe wait 2 to 4 weeks at max, and you'll get an HD copy of whatever it is you want to see. And it's not that I would ever promote that, but that's the way it's going.
Yeah.
You know, musical artists, you know better than I do, I'm sure, Dave. Musical artists are not getting their dollars from selling albums or downloads. They're getting it through live performances.
Yep.
And so the model has to continue to evolve and change, and like you say, you know, adapt or die.
Yep. Definitely.
Matthew Underwood says, abolish the Telecom Act. I will leave the revolutionaries to the Americans. We are a peaceful nation up here. So are you guys. My sister's American. It's all good. All of my TV I watch is from free apps, CW, YouTube. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm 53. I haven't had cable in. I haven't had cable. I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah,
or maybe a bit less. But
I mean, we use YouTube TV, pay for that, and then any free apps through Roku and I mean any local TV. If we can't get it, we find the app. It's on the TV, highlight it, and probably about 90% of the stuff we watch is just available by what we have. We don't have to get cable and have all these hundreds and hundreds of wasted channels. We basically have what we need in 100 channels or less.
So my wife is she's over 20 years younger than I am. And so she'll be like, I'm going to get rid of Disney because there's nothing on it that we watch. I'm like, okay, whatever. Oh, look at this. Look at this right here. Look at this. I think it's Raven and The Calling.
If you're not watching the UWN and all of its affiliated programs, may your bicycle have no seat.
You were already covered earlier in the chat, though. I got who got it for you? Was it James? It's up there somewhere. Anyway, how are you doing, buddy? Are you on lunch? You on dinner? You're frozen. He's frozen. I'm gonna take him out. Look at this. You can have. Oh, that's the wrong one. You can have Lou's mouse, Dave, when you pry it from his cold dead fingers. I love Lou. That's my guy right there. He's back. There he is.
I'm back.
He's back. The third Briscoe brother.
I'll take that.
Yeah, man.
Take that comparison.
That is totally a compliment.
I would totally embrace being an honorary Briscoe brother. To be sure.
How's work going?
I'm done.
Oh, that's good.
Matter of fact, just got home. Hush.
James says he's 54. You look much younger. About 12 years of no cable TV. We are on the same page. It's all streaming now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. No cable. Haven't had it for a while. Couldn't pay me to go back to it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're wrapping up, man. I think we're just going to call it a day. We went an hour and 22 minutes, and we struggled a bit, but the chat was good. Anything you want to get across?
UWN had their taping this past weekend. From what I understand, everything went good. They had they ended up having a pretty decent showing attendance wise. Like I said, if you're not watching the UWN and all of its affiliated products, may your bicycle have no seat. I thank you all for tuning in to us every single week and listening to us ramble on. It's greatly appreciated.
Ramble on.
Ramble on.
Yeah, man.
I better not do that. I'm going to start going all cornet and just singing random songs whenever and sounding horrible.
Yeah, he sings the worst songs too of all time.
Although I will say his "Like Mussolini" pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's so annoying now though. Let it go.
Yeah. After listening to almost 20 hours worth of the CM Punk omnibus that he put out, yeah, it had ran its course by the end of it.
He has spent more time covering CM Punk than CM Punk was in AEW.
There's a lot of truth to that. There's a whole lot of truth to that statement, to be sure.
It's true. What are we going to do? Social media. Where can they find you, Jeremy?
You can find me over on Twitter at HJWOTS and Threads at Championship Wrestling Jeremy.
Which one of those can we see Jeremy's karaoke segments?
Oh, you got to pay for the Patreon for that, fellas.
I would set up a Patreon if that was something that was going to happen. What about you, Dave?
They can find me at Dave Scooby on Twitter X and Instagram, and at Dave Scooby #1 over on TikTok.
And if you join the Patreon, Dave, you can watch a full 5 minutes of Dave just smiling.
Yep.
Incredible. I'm at the what am I at? I'm at the Alliance Gold everywhere. But most important, Alliance.wrestling.com, your #1 source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance. They are at the Alliance blog on all of the social places. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. EDT, 5 p.m. PAC. It's the Alliance guys with J Cal, with DKM, with Jaden. And every Tuesday, of course, you saw it last night, I'm sure, with Paul E., the other Paul E., Paul E. Pratt on the pre-party with J Cal last night. But Jay runs that every week in the hour before Power. That's it. That's it. That's all. We appreciate you guys. More soon. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Until then, thanks for everything, and we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.